Hello and welcome to Footballland, home of the world's first football-themed theme park.
You just need to say football theme park, that's fine.
It's a football-themed theme park.
It's a football
As you
theme
may or
park.
may not know, we have been given $1 billion to create a football-themed theme park
Football theme
in Qatar.
park.
It's a football-themed theme park.
it's a theme
the
park.
theme of football in a theme park
Yeah, it's
in
a football
Qatar
theme park.
for the
Oh my.
2022 World Cup. In Qatar. My name is Anthony Richardson. I am the CEO of Footballland.
My name is Mark Davison. I'm the chief ride engineer of Footballland.
And I'm Ryan Baxter, and I get lunch.
And as is customary at the beginning of each meeting, we like to play an ad for one of our rides. Mark, you've been working on an advert for a ride this week. What have you been working on?
I've done an advert for Jimmy Conrad's Conrad 3000. A bit worried it's too subtle and understated, but see what you think.
I want you to imagine a robotic exoskeleton that customers can wear. Programmed to recreate the goal that I scored against Mexico in 2007. Dig it out of your net, Osvaldo Sanchez, okay? It's the Conrad 3000.
On the agenda this week, we've got some very important news. We have a new patron, Michael White, and he has secured naming rights to our second car park. We have one car park called the Matt Whitworth I'm the Greatest Football Land in All the Land Carp Arc. And now we have a second car park, which we'll put next to the original car park, which is now sponsored by Michael White.
Great.
The Michael White car park, TBC, he hasn't told us exactly how he wants it to be named.
Needs a name, Michael, but thank you for that.
I thought just for equality, we could have a security guard at the front diverting cars into both car parks so one car park doesn't feel left out.
Yeah, we don't want car park favouritism. It would be awful if, say, Michael White's car park was full of brilliant cars and Matt Whitworth's just had the rubbish cars.
Okay, we'll look into that.
Yeah, have a look.
I've got a ride idea. Mark, you've got a lovely idea for something going on around the park.
Yep.
And Larry and Paul are still in the Wayne Lineker Fibreglass Testicle green room.
Yes.
They're going to come out this week to pitch us a very exciting idea.
We should have let them out last week, really, shouldn't we?
But first, sad news, Ryan. Very sad news. We have a problem.
Yeah, a bit of a problem. It's old Tom Deacon's England national team haunted house.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I've been looking at haunted houses and sort of ghost rides and those things. And the problem with the England national team haunted house is that there's just too many sort of sad and shameful moments to sort of fit into a haunted house. It's huge. It's like watching sort of TV in the late 90s, you know. It's sort of, it's just room after room after room.
Yeah.
According to your calculations, how many rooms are there in this haunted England national team house?
I ran out of paper.
Yeah.
And it was quite a large piece of paper.
What, A2?
It was A1.
Wow.
But my pen was quite large, so...
Were you holding it with two hands? Because that makes the writing bigger.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, I get your point that there's too much to put in this Haunted House of England horrors.
There is, and I've been speaking to some sort of haunted house manufacturers, and when I say haunted house manufacturers, I mean sort of just the fellas off the local carnival. Basically, they said if you spend too long in a haunted house, you sort of become desensitised to the experience, and sort of nothing shocks you anymore. It's
like being an England fan.
There's no horror, you know, and so... You're not going to like this, but I'm going to suggest that we reduce the number of rooms.
What?
You're right, we're not going to like that at all. What a stupid idea.
Yeah.
There's so many moments of shame. How
don't
can
even know
you
why I said
choose
it.
it? It's like killing your shameful babies.
You know the next Star Wars film is going to be abject rubbish, but you still pay the money and you sit there and you get annoyed. That's part of the thrill.
Right.
Exactly.
Okay.
If people are going to be desensitised to this, you need to find a way to get them going around it quicker.
Yeah.
Quicker?
And I don't mean running because that is unsafe. Health and safety, Ryan. You need to get people looking around 100 haunted, horrible, shameful rooms in a house in about 4 or 5 minutes.
Mini rooms? Could they be really, really small rooms?
They've got to be immersive, Ryan. This is Footballland. This isn't a toy town.
Yeah, it's
this
not
isn't
Model Village.
Beaconsfield Model Village here, mate. You need to create something for time-poor thrill seekers. We need 2 versions of this house. One, the long haul, where people can spend about a day and a half in there, maybe camping overnight in the Peter Shilton Brexit years room. And one for the time-poor thrill seekers.
Leave it with me.
All right, cheers, Ryan.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Bye. See ya.
Mark, I have an idea for a ride. I think you're going to like it. And this one is quite important because at every single theme park around the world, there is a Wild West themed town.
Yeah.
And Footballland should be no different. You have your shooting parlour. We've already got the Ashley Cole, John Oster air rifle gallery, so I'm not sure we need one of those again.
Well, we've got Eric Cantona's Wild West experience as well.
What we don't have, though, is a Runaway mine train.
Yes, we need one of those.
Now, Runaway trains, for some reason, I don't know how often trains like ran away in the gold mining era, but they seem to run away a lot in theme parks. And
I don't think they knew about brakes in the 19th century in the Wild West.
Exactly. But we need to replicate that in Footballland.
Yeah.
And what better way to replicate a runaway mine train experience than Roman Abramovich's gold mine ride?
I love it.
The Chelsea owner, he is one of the richest owners in football, and he seems to run away a lot. He ran away from Russia, and then he ran away from England to Israel. So he's been doing a lot of running, and what better place to put Roman Abramovich than underground in a gold mine?
Yeah.
I'd like you to take everything you learnt about Wild West themed gold mine trains in the past and throw it in the bin.
Okay.
Because this is set in 3 distinct zones: Russia, London, and Israel.
Wild Russia, Wild London, Wild Israel.
Exactly. The Wild West, except Russia's in the east, okay?
Yeah.
And Israel's very much in the centre.
Yeah.
So Wild East, Wild Centre, Wild West.
London's Wild West. Great.
So
yes.
each family takes a minecart. So there's about 4 people to a minecart. So I'm hoping families don't have more than 2 children. If you've got more than 2 children, then you might have to squeeze in, or one of the children might have to be on his own. I'm not policing the family unit here.
Or just miss out. Just tell it
Yeah.
to wait there and watch us have fun. You committed a minor indiscretion in the car on the way here, so you're not having any fun.
Exactly. The queue is geared up towards teaching everyone about Roman Abramovich and his life. So you get a lot of bits of video about his life, an ornament of John Terry, like a bust.
Yep.
You get in the cart, and the cart is full of banknotes, okay? It's full of banknotes, and it's full of the exact number of banknotes that makes it specific to Roman Abramovich. There are 18,700 banknotes in your cart, and they represent his net worth of $18.7 billion.
Wow.
So each note is worth $1 million.
Wow.
So you've got all of these banknotes. You're sitting in, obviously you've got your seatbelts on, but you've got all of these banknotes, okay?
So you're like in a bath of banknotes.
Exactly. You're in a bath, you're in a car of banknotes on wheels. Your job as you go around this roller coaster is to make sure as few banknotes fall off the side of your cart as possible.
I see.
So you're going up and down, round, up. There's going to be fans blowing you. It's going to be a bit like the Crystal Maze. And you're frantically, as a group, as a family unit, you have to keep the banknotes in your vehicle.
Yes.
By the time you finish the ride, there's like automatic scales on the bottom of your cart, so it can tell instantaneously how many banknotes have exited the vehicle.
I love it.
And those banknotes you can actually spend in the gift shop. They're each worth a third off a key ring.
No, so they're not actually worth $1 million.
No, they're worth, if anything, $0.03. And if anything, we're actually getting money because they're not worth anything, but they're kind of like vouchers to buy things. So, we're conning people, but that's what you do when you're wealthy.
Yes.
Now, I haven't actually thought about what the zones look like, but I'm guessing like a not Toy Town, but a runaway train, sort of underground Russia, underground. Maybe they're the 3 different types of mines you get in Russia, London and Israel. So in Russia, probably quite mineral heavy. So graphite. You can tell I don't know much about mining.
I'm not sure much mining goes on in London these days. I'm not sure it ever went on in London, actually.
Well, handbags. They like posh designer handbags in London, don't they? And shoes. So a shoe mine or handbag mine. And then Israel, oranges. Very citrus fruit heavy place is Israel. So
and oranges are a root vegetable, aren't they? They grow underground.
Yeah, they
dig them
grow
up
underground.
like potatoes,
Yeah.
so that fits. Assuming that the third child hasn't been guilty of indiscretion in the car going to the park, so they are allowed on the ride. But if we're making these minecarts suitable for families of 4, does that mean the youngest is going to be rattling around without a seatbelt? And are we okay with that?
Well, seatbelts on roller coasters are not always needed, because if you're clever with the centrifugal force, sometimes you can keep people pinned to their seats without them needing any additional harnesses.
Yes.
And another reason you shouldn't really want seatbelts on this ride is because you need to be moving around, keeping your banknotes in the vehicle.
Well, is there something in teaching people the value of love, in that you're trying to keep the banknotes in, but you're also trying to keep your offspring from flying off the cart, which, you know, it maybe on a particularly treacherous turn, you're faced with a choice. Do I save $1 billion or do I save Brian, who's only 3 years old?
It's also putting a monetary value on a child's life.
Yeah, I don't mean to be overly macabre, but, you know, faced with Brian or $1 billion, it's not looking good for Brian, put it that way.
Judge not until you've been in those shoes, really, in the shoe mine.
Can you wear handbags as shoes if you're in the wrong bit of the mine?
So falling off the minecart is actually part of the ride.
Oh, yeah.
You don't actually get hurt or maimed or anything like that falling off the side. And it becomes, you know, a lesson in, do you choose the money or do you choose your son? And you will go down a chute that takes you to the gift shop if you do fall off.
But you won't have any money off vouchers because it's still rattling around in the cart with your family.
When you get to the gift shop, you have to, you know, weigh up whether or not you want to use the money that you've saved to pay for your child back.
Oh, yes.
Or, you know, spend it on a plush or a slinky.
What do we do if lots of families elect to go for the money and we've just got loads of kids flying about in the upper regions of the Roman Abramovich mines? Do we start some kind of orphanage?
I don't really want all of these children on our hands.
Yeah.
Maybe we keep them all until the end of the day and then you collect them at the end. During that time, when they're in the park, they work for us. You know, they're very much our children now.
Yeah, we're literally putting them to work in the mines.
There's lots of things they can be doing in those mines.
They could be making more handbags.
OK, let's put it to a vote. All in favour of Roman Abramovich's gold mine ride, say aye.
Aye. Great stuff.
Thank you.
Oh, he lives inside the grandstand. He wears the captain's armband. He's good at keeping uppy. Saves a little puppy. Captain. Footballland. Captain. Footballland.
Right, we've got some engagement coming, Mark. We've got some engagement. People can engage with us. They can pitch a ride. They can even sponsor the Footballland car park like Matt Whitworth by being a Patreon. You go on patreon.com/Footballland. James Worley says, I don't know much about football, but I very much enjoyed former Tottenham defender Gary Mabbutt appearing on The Queen's Nose in 1995. The Queen's Nose was a children's TV show with a magic 50p piece where you rubbed the Queen's nose and magic things happened. That's all you need to know. Punters, he says, have to present a 50p piece, place it into the game machine's receptacle. So it's like, imagine like an arcade machine.
Yep.
You have to place it in operation-style gaps in Mabbutt's skull.
Yeah.
He was bashed in the face, wasn't he, by John Fashanu, and he like dislocated his eye socket or something.
Yeah, fractured his eye socket.
So he's saying you try and put a 50p piece in his eye,
right,
in this giant head of Gary Mabbutt. He says once you've got the 50p in Gary Mabbutt's eye, then you've got to rub the Queen's nose on the coin very hard. And if you do it just right, magic happens. But the magic in this case is you win tickets that come out of the machine and you can exchange them for very cheap plastic goods at a counter.
Okay.
It's Operation with Gary Mabbutt's deconstructed face after getting elbowed in the face by John Fashanu.
You're smashing coins into Gary Mabbutt's already fractured head.
Yeah, and then you got to, once you got your hand inside his skull, you've got to still rub the Queen's nose. The Queen's nose, can we make that football related? Maybe these 50p's have either the Queen of football is like Mia Hamm or Megan Rapinoe, her face on the 50p piece, or perhaps a footballer who has a giant nose.
Gareth Southgate
or Zlatan, perhaps. Yeah.
So let me just get this straight. It's not enough to just smash the 50p piece through the eye socket. You've got to then do more
Yeah.
in order to qualify for some plastic tat at the counter.
That's right. I mean, you don't get a free lunch in this game, and thank you very much indeed, James, for making it tough, and it's not for the faint-hearted as well. You've got to really squidge let's get some slime in there. Let's get some red slime inside Gary Mabbutt's fake eye socket, and you've got to jam your 50p into his eye, and then magic occurs, much as it did on that fateful day between Wimbledon and Spurs. You've actually watched The Queen's Nose recently, haven't you?
Yes, I've rewatched The Queen's Nose. I mean, it was an iconic piece of television in the mid-90s.
Yeah.
And Gary Mabbutt appears in the last episode. So it's a fantasy drama, really, centering on the misadventures of Harmony and a magic 50p that, as you've said, grants wishes. And in the final episode, Harmony and a close friend face a crisis with their team 3-0 down at half-time in the final of a big match, staring down the barrel of defeat. She conjures up Gary Mabbutt using the magic coin, and the ex-England international plays himself. He turns up and he beats a team of kids. He scores 3 goals. The last is a Yeboah-esque equaliser, smashing it past the kids to make it 3-3. And then Tom scores the winner, 4-3. To say Gary Mabbutt had a bash at doing acting is to glorify what he delivered. He's not going to win any BAFTAs. Let's see if we can play a little dialogue extract. This is Gary Mabbutt doing acting.
Oh, sure. Look, listen, if Gary Mabbutt turned up here, I'll give you a £5.
Somebody taking my name in vain? You must be Harmony.
Yes, and Tom. And this is Tom.
Hello, Tom. Pleased to meet you. Not a talkative type, eh?
No.
But you're Gary Mabbutt.
And you're short of a £5. I'll take American Express.
OK, Tom, we're going to plan our tactics. Right, here's what we do.
Strong stuff.
That's really strong. OK, thanks very much. All in favour of that, say aye.
Aye. Thanks, James Worley. Thank you very much.
Mark, you've got an idea for an experience.
Yes. It's called Why Is No One Talking? If you've ever spent any time on a football pitch or even watched a game, especially at lower league level, Sunday pub league level, someone on each side is going to shout at some point, why is no one talking?
Yeah.
Teams that are quiet and not saying very much tend to not do very well, or so the beefy central defender is going to believe, and he will shout at some point, why is no one talking? So this sort of embraces that idea in the park as a facility.
Right.
We allow people in the park to speak into a microphone whatever's on their mind. I mean, it's likely to be football related. They speak into a microphone, just an innocuous, quiet little microphone by the side of the path, and whatever they speak into that microphone is amplified way over the other side of the park. It gets amplified and shouted out through a giant John Terry. Mm-hmm. You get the satisfaction of releasing whatever's on your mind, and no one can really hear you when you're whispering into the microphone. And somewhere the other side of the park, this random speech will come booming out of John Terry. So I'm thinking it'll mostly be footballing phrases, like exactly like, why is no one talking? John Terry suddenly randomly shouts that at the other side of the park. You got your classic, away, which people shout when corners come in. But I'm thinking it could satisfy a kind of more emotional, psychological need in that we can have people just whispering secrets into this microphone, things that they don't want to tell anyone that they know.
Yeah, confessions.
Imagine walking past the John Terry the other side of the park, and suddenly he says, sometimes I cry myself to sleep.
Yeah.
I mean, what a beautiful moment that would be.
But is he booming it in exactly the same way each time? Or is it the voice from the microphone amplified in a shouty way? Do you see what I mean? Is it always... So it's John Terry's voice each time, but saying the deepest, darkest confessions of someone on the other side of the park?
Well, I guess that would be an interesting way to go down. We could develop a sort of Stephen Hawking, John Terry crossbreed voice box thing. But then I slightly worry that might undermine the tenderness of some of these more intimate confessions. You know, if someone feels like they're not able to come out as gay, but they do say they come out to this microphone.
Yeah.
Then if it's a kind of roboticized electronic, I fancy my father-in-law, it's going to sort of undermine the poignancy of that moment.
But with
maybe it doesn't.
AI
Maybe it
these
doesn't.
days, you can make that sound like the most natural voice in the world. You could have, we could trawl through the archives of everything John Terry has ever said, and sometimes I cry myself to sleep at night. He might have even said that in an interview once. All you have to do is just build an AI program, speech recognition, and put that in a giant John Terry. I think it's very possible to get these confessions boomed out by John Terry's voice, but not make them sound insincere.
Voice.
Yeah.
Well, that makes it a more attractive proposition, I'd say. Although I'm not sure we'll ever be able to find him saying, I think I might be gay.
Could you have, the ultimate, what everyone loves in a theme park is when someone proposes to someone. Could someone propose to someone in the microphone and then it booms out of John Terry's voice the other side of the park?
They could, as long as they sign some kind of waiver that says, because you can't see what's going on near the John Terry statue, you're speaking blind, as it were, into that microphone. Yeah. As long as you accept that some random stranger might think you've just proposed to them. And then, I don't know, what do we enforce that marriage, or do we give a waiver? It's like, no, it wasn't you. It was my fiance who's so slow that she was bringing up the rear as I proposed.
I don't want John Terry thinking that she's his wife now, because he's, we don't want another Wayne Bridge situation on our hands.
Well, that's true, actually. I'm starting to wonder if John Terry is the best person for this. But then again, it is about the classic beefy centre-back shouting, why is no one talking? So it has to be John Terry, doesn't it?
Okay, well, I'm ready to take that to a vote. All in favour of why is no one talking, say aye. Aye. Congratulations, Mark. It's a winner.
Thank you. It's a moment of beauty in the park.
Footballland. 2 words. Footballland. In the Qatari desert.
Mark, we are delighted to have back Larry and Paul. You'll remember them from a couple of meetings ago. Well, we actually left them in the Wayne Lineker green room Testicle for 2 weeks.
Yes,
and we forgot to open
for that
it.
to happen.
Yeah. So we better get them out again. Hello, Larry and Paul. Oh, they've been sick.
Oh, gosh.
Dry heaving.
Did I put enough raisins through the little breathe holes for you?
Oh, too many, if anything.
It blocked it.
They've blocked it's just like a sort of a base level of effluence on.
Yeah.
Useful.
So you are back because we enjoyed your first ride so much. You said you had another, and we're very keen to profit as much as possible from our guests. Yeah. So we thought, how about you tell us the other ride as quickly as you can? I want to cut the crap.
Oh.
I want to cut the crap.
Oh.
I just want to hear about the ride, and I want to hear how it can make us money. Do you hear me? We're business guys here. I know that you're these wishy-washy creatives with your ideas, but you need to transform those ideas into money.
So our latest idea, the second one, and one we're very proud of, is the name. I'm going to give you the name of it now, and then see what you think of this. Okay. It's called "It Doesn't Actually Really Matter That Much: The Ride."
That's really catchy.
Ooh. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a colon there between much and the ride.
I'm sorry, is it showing?
It's part of the branding.
Oh, right, sorry.
Sort of like Back to the Future.
Yeah, because if you just say Back to the Future, it just sounds like talking about the film. You need to say the ride after it, otherwise it gets very confusing.
But it needs to be properly punctuated. You can't just have Back to the Future, the ride.
No.
Because what is it, Future the Ride? Is that
Back to the Future
subjunctive?
Beat the ride. But I'm just saying, if you call it Back to the Future, it's going to get very confusing for your listeners. They're going to turn off in droves, so...
Well, it sounds... Let me just repeat it. It doesn't actually really matter that much, the ride. Yeah, it doesn't actually really. Like, you've got two adverbs there.
Yeah, and that's to show how strong it actually really doesn't matter that much, really.
Yeah.
That's 3.
Yeah. Oh, so you've put really, the ride.
Well, no, that's just something I added for illustrative purposes just then. But the official title is "It Doesn't Actually Really Matter That Much: The Ride." No, well, yeah, you'd have to say the colon. The colon is... So it doesn't actually really matter that much. The ride. Yeah.
No, I'm just trying to imagine it on the posters, and like we could do the colon could be 2 footballs.
Yes. Well, that's what we've written down here, actually.
Good, that is good.
All right, so we've heard the title about 12 times. Tell us about your red.
Well, picture this, if you will. It's a slow ride on rails, akin to Disneyland's It's a Small World After All. Okay? Yeah. The football fans, they sit in a carriage and are whisked around slowly around a series of rooms and displays in which they're shown that the game really doesn't matter that much, like in comparison to other things, such as friendship,
famine,
music,
film,
war, politics,
haircuts,
hairstyles. Yeah. It's an evergreen ride because the displays and subjects and rooms can be on rotation and can be varied, which will ensure that attendees will flock to it for years to come. No 2 rides will necessarily be the same. By the end of it, the fans' lives will be transformed, changed, and they come out of it realising that football doesn't actually matter that much, and everything is in perspective, and they can just go forward in their lives with more productive pursuits, like cross-stitching.
Okay.
That sounds fascinating. And so it's a big sort of museum in a way that you kind of travel through.
Yeah, little tunnels. Have you been? Are you aware of It's a Small World After All?
Yeah, absolutely. Haven't been on there, but I'm imagining Professor Burp's Bubble Works in Chessington World of Adventures.
Another heavy influence.
Yeah. And that one strikes dear to me because it's a ride for all ages. Actually saw, very small children on there. I've actually also, when I was a teenager, went there on a school trip, actually saw someone fingering someone on that ride. So, it really is fair for all demographics. Yeah. And would you be able to finger someone on this ride?
The good thing about this ride, and thank you for asking.
Thank you so much for asking that question.
It's a good question. Yeah. Is that the ride does move slowly enough, so you could do that without risk of a sudden jerk of finger, so that the hand and wrist unit moves a foot in a short period of time
up the vulva
and space, and cause damage in that sense. So it is a ride that's very fingering friendly.
We would probably get it passed by the International Fingering Board, and if they got a seal of approval, a gold mine.
I'm thinking about hair, the futility of war, the love of a family pet, and what a smile is for. Brown paper packages tied up with string. My world's so much bigger now that football's not such a thing. And I turn to you and I say, finger me please. Put your thumb inside my rectum, give my balls a squeeze. Finger me please, 'cause nothing really matters anymore. So let's go bowling.
Is there a danger that it's going to be so effective at deconstructing the world of football and proving beyond any doubt that it's really not important, it doesn't matter at all? Is there a danger it's going to be so successful that when people come off this ride, they won't want to go on anything else? They just want to head to the exit and forget football's even a thing?
No, because it just lends them a sense of perspective. They don't come out of it hating football. They just come out of it and, if you don't mind me using the name of the ride, realising it doesn't actually really matter that much, the ride.
We don't want people to go on this ride. I know what you're saying, that people are just going to take this kind of with a pinch of salt and still enjoy the other football rides, but there is a chance that people will come off this ride and not want to visit anything else in the park. So could we at least not open this ride until about 4 p.m? Kind of a watershed, really, so that at least we can fill the other rides of, with football fans enjoying football before they kind of get brainwashed the other way.
Yeah. Sounds a little bit like you've been bought and paid for by big football. Like you're some sort of big football shill. Like not open. I thought this is an open forum where ideas can be discussed freely. Just feel like I'm being oppressed here.
And I think also you're missing something here, guys. If I may say, if you don't mind me saying, and if I may say it, I'll say it. Is that that feeling you get when your team is losing 4-0 in a European Cup final, and there's a minute to go, and you come to the realization that, to use the name of the ride again, it doesn't actually really matter that much.
Stop. The ride.
The ride. And you give up at that point, and you feel a lot better about things before you fly into a rage later on after 3 cans of Stella.
Yeah.
What we're trying to do, if you open this ride early in the morning, you're creating that feeling in the first minute of the first round of games in the group matches of the Champions League, for example. Imagine how much you would enjoy the Champions League if you didn't actually really care that much how your team did in it.
Yeah, we are 4 men here at Loggerheads. There's a tension in this meeting. It's like a big casserole of a meeting. Because Mark and I, we're businessmen, and you two are creatives, and we're just stags butting against each other. You're going to have to think businessly like me and Mark here. When I say to you this, have you thought about the different demographics coming into this ride of yours? Because different people react in different ways to different pictures. So a child is not going to think the Mona Lisa matters.
A bold man is not going to buy the fact that you're saying hairstyles are more important than football.
Exactly. I mean, that's offensive. So how are you going to say to a child that's looking at the Mona Lisa and say, oh, don't look at that, look at something else? How do you cater it to each demographic, please?
Well, thank you for that question. Thank you for asking that question. We're going to answer it right now. First of all, before I do answer the question, can I just say a little bit insulted that you said that we weren't businessmen? Because if the way I'm sitting, the way the jacket is over the shoulder, I mean, does that not just scream business?
He does look like a really serious businessman.
We also
you have to concede.
We
that.
also
They can't
use the
be
word
both.
businessy. I know you just used it there, but I just want to point out we use the word businessy. As I just used it yesterday.
Yeah. I sometimes like to use the word business with like double Z on the end. Business.
Yeah. Bidness is also good. BIDNESS. But to get to the point in hand, and again, thank you for the question, a very important question. One thing I didn't mention, which I probably should have led with, 2 words for you. It's virtual reality. Right? So,
okay.
Sorry. So,
that is quite crucial, yes.
So what happens is, at the start, before you go into the ride, it assesses your psyche. You go and sit in the carriage, you put your VR goggles on, right? And you go round this carriage, but everyone's seeing a different thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
How do you like them apples?
I like that, but who's designing what they see? Is it a robot? Is it AI? Or is it a team of people behind the scenes? Like I once saw a Black Mirror about it.
Yeah, it's Mark Zuckerberg.
Okay, I'm going to give you a profile then. Here's a profile. Here's a profile of a boy, and he is 28. He's a 28-year-old boy.
Yeah.
He's read all of every Emily Bronte novel, but he also likes Marvel, and he secretly is quite bored by boxing. So what are you going to put on his wall?
Yeah, well, you call him a 28-year-old boy. We know his name is Richard Thursman, 28-year-old boy from Leicester, and he loves his nan. His nan died 10 years ago, right? His nan's dead.
Yeah.
So she forms part of the ride.
She's on the ride, baby. But
What's his nan doing in this house?
she's the guide. She's there going,
okay.
Richard, I died 10 years ago in that fire, but... sorry, I'm getting quite emotional. Oh, sorry, just getting welling up a bit there.
Take all the time you need.
She's there saying, Richard, I died, but look, it doesn't actually really matter that much because here's...
Well, that she died?
The other the football, because I'm here to show you. Here's some other stuff. Larry's going to list the stuff that Richard Thursman cares about. Go.
Chocolate eggs, but the ones from M&S, not the branded Cadbury's ones.
Next.
USB leads, but with the twine around to protect them from radio RF interference.
High quality USB leads. Next.
Golden retrievers.
Loves those dogs. Next.
Plastic from the 1980 to 1985 era.
Yeah, and the smell of patchouli. We know that through the data harvesting that's been done by the Japanese company that will remain anonymous, and you will not get it out of us for love nor money. The work has been done. Richard Thursman's there. His dead man's shown him around. All the things that he likes comes out of it a change. Could you imagine how rich Richard Thursman would be at the end of that ride?
The ride.
I can imagine that so well.
When there's something strange in your fairground ride, who are you going to call?
Richard Thursman's dead nan.
Well, I think it's going to have a pacifying influence, Mark. I'm actually won over by this, but I think, unless you have any other questions, this is going to be one of the hardest rides we've ever voted on, actually.
It is a hard ride to vote on because it potentially completely destroys our entire business model, but I am ready to vote on it.
Yeah,
yes.
I'm ready to vote on this too. So,
just think about Richard's nan. Please.
All in favour of...
Oh, sorry. I need a little bit longer. I've just thought of Richard's nan and a golden retriever, and that's something I need to get that out of my head.
Okay. And all in favour of it doesn't actually really matter that much. The ride, say aye. 3, 2, 1, aye.
Aye. Wow.
Congratulations.
I wasn't expecting that. It's in.
Congratulations.
It's in.
Amazing.
That is unanimous. That's
2-on-2.
2-0. And you have 2 rides in Footballland. You're the first guests to have 2 rides in the park. Some might say that's excessive, but it's the least we could do for keeping you inside a Fibreglass Testicle for 2 weeks.
Very nervous that we're about to undermine everything we've been working towards, but them's the rules. We've voted it in, so...
Thank you very much.
What do I know?
If it doesn't work out, listen, if everything does collapse, just drop us an email and say, guys, this is on you.
Yeah.
We'll be fine with that.
Okay.
I predict a ride. I predict a ride. Ellen's roller coaster.
Ryan, you're back. You're beaming from ear to ear. You have come up with a solution to the Tom Deacon's Haunted House of England horrors.
I've listened to what you've said, and essentially I've done what you've said. I've given the patrons of the England national team horror house 2 options. You either go to the right and you have the full 2.5 day experience, no emergency exits, you're in, or you go to the left and you go into what I'm going to call Gaz's dentist's chair.
Gaz's dentist chair.
A
really fun moment.
The Hong Kong drinking game that was replicated after he scored at Wembley, and Teddy Sheringham came over and replicated the dentist chair squirting alcohol into his mouth.
Yeah.
The least horrific moment in the entire history of England.
Yeah. But for horror to work, you've got to lure people in and think that it's nice. Oh, look, it's Gaz's, dentist's chair. And you're like, I love this moment. And then it's, bang. All of a sudden you're strapped into a dentist chair, like you're manacled in like Frankenstein, and then you look up and there's a bright, dentist light in your eyes and you're like, God. And then because your eyes are all mad and that, like these little metal bits come out from the side of your head's strapped down, and they kind of come across like, and then they hook under your eyelids, and then hold your eyelids open, and then we play a montage, like a highlights package, one of those beautiful sort of end of World Cup highlights packages, but dead sort of quick and emotive, and it's highlights from sort of the last 70 years of England's sort of national humiliation in 90 seconds.
Wow. That's very Clockwork Orange-esque.
Yeah.
And just as a pièce de la résistance, maybe whilst this horror is going on that you can't look away from, Gaza is just very tenderly kissing up and down your abdomen, and you're powerless to stop him.
Yeah, I got such a lovely belly.
Or just breathing close to your neck or something.
I think, though, that still it would be very exciting to have Gaza breathing near you, breathing on your abdomen. But someone like Francis Jeffers,
if you're in the chair staring up at the dentist's light, you only know it's Francis Jeffers when one of his ears just crosses the light and it goes into like an eclipse. And you can sort of see through his ears. You can see the veins in his ears, but they're so massive it can only be Francis Jeffers.
Well done, Ryan. You've cracked it.
Really
Congratulations.
strong.
Okay. All right then.
Yep. Thank you. What a successful meeting that was.
Lovely,
Thank
yes.
you very much for joining us. Mark, a couple of things you just need to do. You need to be working on that England highlights package for the Clockwork Orange soundscape.
Yeah, the Clockwork Orange classical horror, yes.
Ryan, can you print out a few Abramovich banknotes, Ryan? Design them just like fivers with his face on, dollar bills or whatever, or rubles. Okay. All right, thank you.
Very good.
All right,
Okay.
meeting
Great,
adjourned.
great.
All right.
Right.
Yep, sure.
Bye-bye.
Come on.